The arena erupted in absolute chaos as Jacob Fatu stormed through the curtain with a look of pure destruction in his eyes, and what followed was nothing short of seismic. SmackDown fans had been waiting for this moment, and when it finally arrived, it delivered in ways nobody could have predicted. The Samoan werewolf was back, and he had his sights set on the one man who has dominated WWE for over 2 decades. Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate himself, was about to discover that his reign of terror had just met its match. Before we dive into every electrifying detail of this unprecedented confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss a single moment of the action we bring you every single week. The tension had been building for weeks leading up to this explosive encounter. Jacob Fatu had been absent from SmackDown programming following a controversial attack that left several superstars injured and the WWE Universe demanding answers. Management had supposedly suspended him indefinitely, but rumors swirled backstage that something bigger was brewing. Paul Heyman had been making cryptic statements during his appearances with the Bloodline, dropping hints that a storm was coming but never quite revealing what he meant. The WWE faithful speculated endlessly about what could possibly shake up the current landscape, but nobody anticipated the sheer magnitude of what was about to unfold when SmackDown went live from the packed arena. Brock Lesnar opened the show in his typical fashion, standing in the center of the ring with Paul Heyman by his side, a microphone in hand and that familiar smirk plastered across his face. The Beast had been on an absolute tear through the roster, demolishing everyone in his path with German suplexes and F5s that left bodies scattered across the canvas week after week. Heyman cut one of his signature promos, proclaiming that his client was the most dominant force in sports entertainment history and that nobody on the entire roster could step up to challenge the conquering beast. The crowd booed mercilessly, but Heyman fed off their hatred, his voice growing louder and more confident with every passing second as he detailed the destruction Lesnar had caused over the past several months. That's when the lights went out. Complete darkness enveloped the arena for what felt like an eternity, and the confusion rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Phone flashlights illuminated sections of the audience as everyone tried to figure out what was happening. The silence was deafening until a thunderous drumbeat began pounding through the speakers, a sound that immediately triggered recognition among hardcore fans who knew exactly what was coming. When the lights snapped back on, Jacob Fatu stood at the top of the entrance ramp, his massive frame silhouetted against the pyrotechnic display that exploded behind him, and the crowd absolutely lost their minds. The Samoan werewolf didn't waste a single second on theatrics or grandstanding. He charged down the ramp with frightening speed for a man his size, sliding under the bottom rope before Lesnar or Heyman could even process what was happening. Security personnel tried to intervene, but Fatu swatted them away like flies as he zeroed in on his target with laser focus. Brock Lesnar, to his credit, immediately dropped into his amateur wrestling stance, ready for the fight that was about to erupt, but even the Beast incarnate seemed momentarily stunned by the sheer ferocity radiating from the returning superstar. Paul Heyman scrambled out of the ring faster than anyone had ever seen him move, clutching his phone and screaming for more security as the situation spiraled out of control. The two behemoths collided in the center of the ring with the force of a freight train crash. Fatu unleashed a barrage of strikes that backed Lesnar into the corner, each punch landing with sickening thuds that echoed throughout the arena. The crowd was on their feet, roaring their approval as they watched someone finally take the fight directly to Brock Lesnar in a way that felt genuine and dangerous. Lesnar tried to cover up and create space, but Fatu was relentless, mixing in brutal knee strikes to the midsection that doubled the Beast over. Security flooded the ring, trying desperately to separate the two warriors, but they might as well have been trying to stop a hurricane with their bare hands. Jacob Fatu grabbed one security guard and launched him clear over the top rope, the unfortunate official crashing onto several of his colleagues at ringside. Another security member ate a devastating superkick that sent him sprawling across the canvas in an unconscious heap. Lesnar used the distraction to mount a comeback, catching Fatu with a thunderous clothesline that actually staggered the Samoan werewolf but didn't drop him. The two titans traded blows in the middle of the ring, each shot looking like it could end a normal man's career, but neither competitor showed any signs of backing down. The intensity was off the charts as the entire locker room emptied, with superstars and officials alike rushing to ringside in an attempt to restore order before someone got seriously hurt. Even with what seemed like the entire roster surrounding the ring, the chaos continued to escalate. Fatu broke through the wall of bodies and launched himself at Lesnar with a suicide dive that sent both men crashing through the barricade and into the front row. Fans scattered in every direction as the two superstars continued their war among the chairs and debris, neither one willing to give an inch. Cameras struggled to keep up with the action as the battle spilled further into the crowd. Officials pleaded with both men to stop, but their words fell on deaf ears. This wasn't about following rules or maintaining decorum anymore. This was about two alphas establishing dominance, and nothing short of complete destruction was going to satisfy either competitor. WWE personnel finally managed to create enough separation to drag the two warriors in opposite directions, but the damage was done. The message had been sent loud and clear. Jacob Fatu was back, and he had just declared war on the most dangerous man in WWE history. As officials helped Lesnar to his feet, the Beast's face showed something fans rarely witnessed, genuine surprise mixed with a hint of respect for the audacity of the attack. Blood trickled from a cut above Lesnar's eyebrow, a visual reminder that someone had actually made him bleed, something that almost never happened. Meanwhile, FATU stood on the other side of the barricade, chest heaving, eyes still locked on his target, his expression making it crystal clear that this was just the beginning of their war. The SmackDown general manager rushed out to address the situation, attempting to bring some semblance of control to the complete mayhem that had just unfolded. The executive declared that both Lesnar and FATU would face severe consequences for their actions, but the threat of fines and suspension seemed laughable given the circumstances. The crowd chanted FATU's name as he finally allowed security to escort him toward the back, but he kept turning around to stare down Lesnar, pointing at him and mouthing words that the cameras couldn't quite pick up but everyone understood. This rivalry had just been born in the most violent way possible, and the WWE Universe knew they were witnessing the start of something monumental. Backstage interviews immediately followed as various superstars gave their reactions to what had just transpired. Some expressed shock at the level of violence they had just witnessed. Others spoke about how they had never seen anyone attack Brock Lesnar with such ferocity and lived to tell about it. The locker room was divided between those who thought FATU had just signed his own death warrant and those who believed he might be the one person capable of actually defeating the Beast incarnate. Social media exploded with highlights of the attack, with the segment trending worldwide within minutes. Fans couldn't stop talking about every moment of the confrontation, analyzing each strike and speculating about what would happen when these two forces of nature inevitably collided again. Paul Heyman cut a fiery promo later in the evening, his face red with anger as he declared that Jacob FATU had just made the biggest mistake of his career. Heyman promised that Brock Lesnar would make an example out of FATU that would serve as a warning to anyone else who dared to challenge the Beast. He detailed the suffering that awaited the Samoan werewolf, painting a gruesome picture of the destruction Lesnar would unleash when he got his hands on FATU in a sanctioned match. But even as Heyman spoke with his usual confidence, there was something different in his tone, a slight tremor that suggested even the advocate wasn't entirely certain his client could handle this particular challenger as easily as he had handled everyone else. The general manager made another appearance to announce that due to the unprecedented nature of the attack and the overwhelming fan interest, Jacob FATU and Brock Lesnar would face each other in a special attraction match at the upcoming premium live event. The announcement sent shockwaves through the WWE Universe, as fans immediately began planning to witness what promised to be one of the most physically devastating matches in recent memory. The stipulation was simple: no disqualifications, no countouts, and a guaranteed winner. This match would be fought under rules that favored pure violence and brutality, exactly the kind of environment where both competitors thrived. The countdown to their collision had officially begun. In the weeks that followed, the tension only intensified. FATU appeared via satellite during one episode, cutting a promo that explained his motivation for targeting Lesnar. He spoke about legacy, about proving that the new generation of Samoan warriors could stand toe-to-toe with established legends, and about his mission to become the most feared competitor in WWE history. His words carried weight because they were backed up by his actions. He hadn't just talked about challenging Lesnar, he had actually done it in the most aggressive way possible. The Samoan werewolf's intensity came through the screen, and fans could feel the genuine animosity building between these two competitors. Lesnar responded in his own unique way by demolishing everyone placed in front of him with even more viciousness than usual. Every German suplex looked more brutal, every F5 more devastating, as if he was sending a message directly to FATU about what awaited him. The Beast incarnate was in full destroyer mode, and the casualty count on SmackDown began to rise dramatically. Tag team specialists, mid-card talents, and even established main eventers found themselves on the wrong end of Lesnar's rampage. Each victim served as another warning to FATU, but if the Samoan werewolf was intimidated, he certainly didn't show it. Instead, he appeared at live events and house shows, watching Lesnar's matches from the crowd and making his presence known, the psychological warfare escalating with each passing week. The go-home show before their match featured both men in the building for the first time since their initial confrontation. Security was tripled, with guards posted at every entrance and officials stationed throughout the backstage area to prevent another spontaneous eruption of violence. The show's main event slot was reserved for a contract signing, that tried and true WWE tradition that everyone knew would inevitably end in chaos. The ring was set up with a table, 2 chairs, and the contract that would make their match official. The general manager stood in the ring, pleading with both competitors to keep things professional and simply sign the document so the show could end without further incident. Brock Lesnar entered first, flanked by Paul Heyman and what seemed like a small army of private security. The Beast walked with purpose, his eyes scanning the entrance ramp and every corner of the arena as if expecting an ambush at any moment. Heyman took the microphone and launched into another epic promo about his client's dominance, but this time his words felt more like he was trying to convince himself as much as the audience. Lesnar sat down, his massive frame dwarfing the chair beneath him, and he stared at the entrance ramp with unwavering focus, waiting for his opponent to appear. Jacob FATU's music hit, and the crowd erupted as the Samoan werewolf made his way to the ring. But something was different this time. Fatu moved with measured steps, his expression deadly serious, and he was flanked by members of his family who had come to witness this moment. The show of force was unmistakable, a clear message that Fatu wasn't some lone wolf trying to make a name for himself. He had backing, he had support, and he had the legacy of one of wrestling's most legendary families behind him. The atmosphere in the arena shifted as everyone realized they were watching something that transcended a simple rivalry. This was about honor, about proving worthiness, and about two warriors willing to destroy each other to achieve their goals. The contract signing proceeded with surprising calm at first. Both men sat across from each other, the tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. The general manager explained the match stipulations once again, emphasizing that this would be a fight unlike anything SmackDown had seen in years. Lesnar signed first, his signature quick and dismissive, as if he couldn't wait to get to the violence. Fatu took his time, reading through the contract carefully, making Lesnar wait, the psychological game playing out in real time. When Fatu finally signed, he didn't immediately put down the pen. Instead, he leaned forward, looked Lesnar directly in the eyes, and spoke words that the microphones barely picked up but everyone in the front rows heard clearly, words that made Lesnar's jaw clench and his fists tighten. The table exploded as both men lunged at each other simultaneously. Security rushed in from all sides, but the preparation proved futile as both superstars tore through them like paper. Fatu connected with a superkick that sent Lesnar stumbling back, but the Beast recovered instantly and drove Fatu into the corner with a spear that shook the ring. They traded strikes again, each one looking more devastating than the last, and the crowd was absolutely electric as they witnessed these two titans trying to kill each other before their official match had even begun. The show went off the air with the image of officials desperately trying to separate the two warriors as SmackDown's logo flashed across the screen, leaving fans desperate to see the eventual collision. The premium live event arrived, and the atmosphere in the arena was absolutely electric from the opening bell. Every match on the card felt like it was building toward the inevitable collision between Fatu and Lesnar. When their match was finally announced, the crowd's reaction was deafening. Both men made their entrances to massive responses, the audience split between those supporting the established legend and those backing the rising star looking to prove himself. The referee called for the bell, and what followed was 40 minutes of absolute brutality that will be talked about for years to come. They fought everywhere. The ring became just a starting point as the battle spilled to ringside, up the ramp, through the crowd, and even into the backstage area where cameras rushed to follow them. Fatu hit a moonsault off a production truck that left both men lying in wreckage. Lesnar delivered multiple F5s onto every hard surface imaginable, but Fatu kept getting up, refusing to stay down. The near falls became more dramatic with each passing minute, and the crowd was losing their minds with every kickout. Both men were bleeding, exhausted, and running on pure adrenaline and determination. The match had become exactly what everyone predicted, an absolute war between two forces of nature. The finish came after Fatu survived 3 consecutive F5s, something that shocked everyone watching including Lesnar himself. As the Beast set up for a fourth, clearly frustrated and desperate to put his opponent away, Fatu countered with a Hurricane Rana that sent Lesnar crashing into the turnbuckles. The Samoan werewolf seized the opportunity, unleashing a combination of strikes that culminated in his devastating moonsault from the top rope. The impact echoed throughout the arena, and when the referee counted to 3, the place absolutely exploded. Jacob Fatu had done the unthinkable. He had defeated Brock Lesnar in a clean finish, cementing his place among WWE's elite in one unforgettable night. The aftermath of the match saw both men being helped to the back by medical personnel. Lesnar, for the first time in years, looked genuinely defeated, the shock of losing clear on his face. Fatu could barely stand but refused assistance, insisting on walking out under his own power despite the punishment he had endured. The respect between the two warriors was evident as they passed each other in the entranceway, a brief nod exchanged that spoke volumes about what they had just been through together. The WWE Universe had witnessed history, a changing of the guard moment that would be replayed and discussed for generations. The following SmackDown opened with Jacob Fatu standing in the ring, championship aspirations now firmly within his grasp after defeating the most dominant superstar of this generation. The Samoan werewolf spoke about his journey, his family's legacy, and his intention to continue climbing the mountain until he stood at the absolute peak. But he also acknowledged Brock Lesnar, giving credit to the Beast for pushing him to his absolute limits and bringing out a level of performance he didn't know he was capable of. The respect was genuine, but so was the hunger in Fatu's eyes as he looked toward the future and all the challenges that awaited him. This rivalry between Jacob Fatu and Brock Lesnar delivered everything fans could have hoped for and more. It gave us unforgettable moments of violence and drama, it elevated Fatu to main event status, and it showed that even legends like Lesnar are not invincible. The explosion that started with Fatu's return attack on SmackDown had grown into a full-scale war that captivated the entire wrestling world. Both men emerged from their conflict as bigger stars, and the WWE Universe emerged as the ultimate winners, having witnessed one of the most intense rivalries in recent memory. Make sure you subscribe to stay updated on all the latest WWE action, because moments like these are what make professional wrestling the most entertaining form of sports entertainment on the planet.